Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to a vlog series on the farm bills. The idea of doing this vlog was specifically to send out the information regarding the current farm bills and why we feel so constrained when it comes to talking about a law which is dealing with whether it is farming, whether it's related to the farming aspects, and what is this huge hue and cry. Now, at the very outset of this video, I want all of you to know that whatever views we express today are not at all politically motivated. It is not something of a sorts where I am trying to support one party and not the other. The idea is to realize what the law is, to dissect it, to get into details, to find what is the issue. Because if so many people are sitting out there, then there cannot be a justice that is being meted out in terms of this bill being introduced. So let's try to understand. And I'm here with a senior gentleman who's my father, and I would like to address him as sir in this vlog. And he's an ex-serviceman and also an ardent farmer, and we all come from a farmer's family. And let's just try to put out our views. It's and have a healthy conversation. And I'm going to have a three-series video to just discuss and have all of your viewpoints and also bring out our information. So, sir, good afternoon and welcome to this short vlog that I'm
Good
doing.
afternoon.
And could you please introduce yourself?
I am Colonel Suresh Rana. I am a retired army officer. Presently, I am doing farming, and I have gone into the details of this bill, and there are pros and cons which we can discuss as the discussion progresses.
Right. So we'll start with the very first concept of making people understand what the current farming system is. Because before even if we jump to what the new system is, let's just start talking about what the current farming system in the country is. So for all the listeners out there, currently there are different aspects of farming in the nation. When we talk about the northern sector or the northern side of things, there is a different type of crop which is being grown, and down south there is a different crop, and down in the east side there are other things, and on the western side there is a different produce altogether. Now, this particular farming system which we're going to talk about is called the APMC, which is the Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee, and the system under it which is functioning currently, especially in the states of UP, MP, Haryana, Punjab, and Rajasthan. So let's start the discussion. So, sir, my first question to you is, could you please explain? Because you know the problem is understanding the practicalities. What is this current APMC system that is functioning, and why people say that it might be corrupted, but it is again giving benefits to farmer, and it is doing the deed that it's supposed to do, and it's not a devil entirely.
See, the present system came into effect somewhere in 1920s or 30s.
Right.
There's a time when a famous farmer leader called Sir Chotu Rao, he brought in the mandi system to ensure that farmers are not exploited. And over a period of time, it kept on developing, and it came into final state somewhere in 1965-66, when the Green Revolution also came in India.
Right.
The system is very neat, clean. Otherwise, it has its own minor flaws which can be removed. The system overall is that there is a place called mandi. These mandis have been developed by the organization or by the government, we can call it. But that organization is part of the government only, which are closer to the villages. Say there are 20 villages, they have constructed one mandi. So those 20 villages are dependent on that mandi. It is not mandatory for those villagers to go to this mandi only. They can go to any other mandi also. But since it is closer, those farmers go there. These mandis have some infrastructure which have been developed over a period of time. They have sheds so that farmers' grain which is brought to the market is protected from sun, from rain, etc., etc. There are infrastructure which has come around mandi that farmer has to stay the night, so there are restaurants around it, there are tea stalls around it, he can buy his normal food stuff, household items. When after selling his grains he go back home, so he has money, so he buys his stores from there, household goods, and goes back home. In case he has to stay for the night, then there are sheds, there are toilet facilities and some other facilities which have been created that farmer can comfortably stay there for the night if his grains have not been sold or because of any other reason. There are parking places for his tractors. There are separate places for his animals in case he brings it in a bullock cart and to park his cart. Now that was as far as the infrastructure of the mandi is concerned.
I like to bring another point, sir. In fact, the lighting that happens, the roads and access to the mandis, etc., everything is actually done by the APMC committee to ensure that the overall infrastructure and the approach to mandi is open. At least for Haryana and Punjab, we can say so.
Yeah.
That here it is very detailed.
When we talk about these mandis, basically what has happened is since the Green Revolution came in a big way in Punjab, Haryana, portion of Rajasthan, Western UP. So this infrastructure have developed into all this area. And that is why farmer today basically who are protesting are from this area. The other governments did not take much interest, hence their infrastructure did not develop. Now, these things like roads, electricity, all this is free. The farmer is not being charged for all this. Now comes the basic meat of it. What happens in a mandi? Why farmer is interested in coming to a mandi? He brings his food grains into the mandi. And presently this MSP, minimum support price, which we are talking, he brings his food grain in the market. Now there are traders in the market, there are procurement agencies which are government agencies. It could be Food and Supplies Department of that particular state, could be FCI or any other organization nominated by the government which becomes part of the procurement system in a mandi. Now the farmer has brought his crops or his grain in the mandi. The traders, private traders, the procurement agency, they all come into a group, looks at the crop, decide the quality, what it is, and then it is something like auction. Somebody offers, I'll buy at 100 rupees a quintal. Somebody says 120 rupees a quintal. Third man says 130. So the highest bidder is given that. But what happens in case the highest bidding is less than the minimum support price? Then what happens? If the highest bidder is less than minimum support price, the government procurement agency comes and buys it at the minimum support price. That is why it is called minimum support price. To give you example, the highest bid has gone to 130 per quintal, rupees 1. The minimum support price is 135. So the crop is purchased by the procurement agency and not by the trader. Now let's take the case other way around. The MSP is 135. The highest bidding has gone to 160 by a private trader.
Yeah.
So the procurement agencies now will take a step back and the crop or the grain will be sold to the highest bidder, which is above the MSP. Now, if it is such a good situation, why we need to come to the
new bill?
New bill. Every coin has two sides. There are some flaws in this. Now first we talk, which is becoming a major human cry, that bicholias are there,
Aartis. The Adat system.
They are called Aartis.
So all for everybody out there, those who are not from a farming background, there's a middleman who's licensed, who's appointed. He is called as the Aarti or the intermediary.
Now, before I came into this agriculture or before I retired, even I thought why this Aarti is there. And the moment you call him middleman, the suspicion in your
conscious
even goes bigger. Oh, Aarti, middleman, because the name middleman as such creates doubt in your mind. So, or the even calling him a commission agent also creates that doubt. That is why in villages he is called Aartiya. Now, Aartiya is a registered commission agent. He is not any Aragara who comes and sits there, tomorrow sells your crops and runs away. So he is a man who is accountable to you or accountable to the government, and his character, his other verifications, his financial states, everything is confirmed or verified by the government before he is given a license. Now he charges nearly 2.5 to 3%. Okay, from the not from the farmer actually.
Yes.
Adat, which commission which he is charging, is charged from the man who is buying the grain.
Yes.
Whether it is procurement agency or it is a trader. But to say that farmer is not charged anything is also not correct. Farmer pays for the other facilities which are provided to him by the Adati. That's why Adati is supposed to be there. And Adati is actually, you can call him a link between the purchaser and the seller. So he is not a middleman otherwise. He is a link to ensure things move smoothly, because farmer will not know how to deal with the government procurement agency or with the dealer.
I'll also like to add a single point because we are short on time. There is a 15-minute limit for us. The point is this, that the Aarti also is important from a perspective where, let's say, there is no demand for that grain in the market from the government side. I want to put a
I
statement
thought
out
I'll
there.
cover that subject
Yes.
later.
No, I'll add that as well. And then he has that storage capacity and the private warehouse, etc. too. But he'll pick that grain up from you. The Aarti will definitely pick up that grain, store it there, and then later on sell it to the main parties who are procuring from him. So that's a big advantage as well in terms of warehousing and storage.
No, because that though then becomes
There is an
different
anti-hoarding law.
issue. He has become a trader and is no more a merchant. He can be dual, but
Yes.
we will deal with him only as a
Trader in a trading capacity.
No, as a
Buffer, you can say.
this thing commission agent.
Okay.
ठीक है. If he is performing the other role, then he becomes a trader. Now, we were at that he charges you for certain other things also, like cleaning of your grain, filling up of the bags, then getting them weighed, then transporting them. So he is providing you those facilities which he charges you. Plus, a farmer has also to pay some mandi fees. That is about 2.5 to 3% again for creating that infrastructure. Now this mandi fees again is being misquoted, and even I used to feel when it is government agency why mandi fees is being charged. But now when I have come to ground realities, I feel it is okay and farmers are ready to pay that 3% or 2.5% mandi fees. It varies from place to place. Now this mandi fees is used for development of mandi, for rural development of that area, and in case something happens, then it provides some assistance to the farmer. Also could be financial assistance, could be material assistance, or could be in any other form. So whatever this farmer is paying is actually coming back to the farmer in one or the different way. So farmer is not against being charged this 2.5 to 3% what is. Now whatever Aarti is charging you for his services, he also gives you loan when you need it. And this loan he gives you, of course, at a slightly higher rate. Now coming to okay, why should a farmer take loan from the Aarti and why not from the bank? For a farmer like me who is educated and who's holding maybe 10 acres, 15 acres, it's okay to go to the bank and to take that loan. Because loan is given on value of your land. If a farmer has got 1 acre of land, the loan he'll get is 50,000 rupees, which is very, very minimal for a farmer. He may need 1 lakh marriage of his child or investment to the agriculture or somewhere else. So he perforce has to go to the Aarti. Plus, he will get into the rigmarole of documentation into farming, this thing. The biggest problem which has come up recently in these loans, farm loans, is that your crop insurance has become mandatory. Now, a literate farmer really doesn't know who has insured his crop. But bank has deducted that money from your loan amount or has deducted that money from your account. So that is becoming a very suspicious thing, and most of the farmers are not for it. But it is a mandatory requirement in case you are taking loan, agriculture loan, then you have to go in for insurance. So it is being forced upon you by the banks. I don't know whether it is by the bank or it is by the government or some other organization, because when I went to the bank to ask them why it is being done, the answer given to me was, sir, these are the preconditions or these are the instructions from our higher ups.
So just to
The
conclude,
disadvantage of taking loan from Aarti is that his rates are slightly higher than the bank rates.
correct. No, and rightly said. So, with this, we'd like to conclude the first video.
No, before that, I'll
Any
take
last things?
another 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Today also, farmer can sell his crop anywhere he wants.
Correct.
It is not mandatory for him to sell his crop into the mandi only. He can sell this crop in his field if some trader comes and buys it there. So to say that farmer is now out of this bondage of selling it in the mandi is not a valid point. That's
And
what
only
I thought I
six
must
and
clarify.
only 6% of farmers are actually availing this facility. 94 still sell on their own. And with this, we'd like to conclude our first video on the background of the APMC. You have any questions, please post to us. We'll be coming out with the next series shortly with you guys. So please stay tuned in and write into us.